also wanted to point out my shirt, which you probably can't really see, but it says, I have no shelf control. I have no shelf control, with a bunch of books. And I thought that was fitting for this video. My friend Lauren gave it to me for Christmas. Okay, so the first book that I read in March was the Honey Don't List. Honey Don't List. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was a good read. Not one of my all-time favorite books, but I still gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. And I thought I could go ahead and just read the back of this book. Carrie Duncan has worked for home remodeling and design gurus Melissa and Rusty Tripp for a decade. A country girl at heart, Carrie started in their first store at 16, and more than anyone would suspect, has helped them build an empire. With a new show and book about to launch, the Tripps are on the verge of superstardom. There's only one problem. America's favorite couple can't stand each other. James McCain, MIT graduate and engineering genius, was originally hired as a structural engineer, but the job isn't all he thought it'd be. The last straw. Both he and Carrie must go on a book tour with the Tripps and keep the wheels from falling off of the proverbial bus. Unfortunately, neither of them is in any position to quit. Carrie needs health insurance, and James has been promised the role of a lifetime if he can just keep the couple on track for a few more weeks. While road tripping the Tripps up the West Coast, Carrie and James vow to work together to keep their boss's secrets hidden and their own job secure. But if they stop playing along and start playing for keeps, they may have the chance to build something beautiful together. So, Carrie and James, they are both assistants to the Tripps, and they're like a famous remodeling couple on TV, and they just came out with a book, so they're all going on tour together. Carrie and James, so they're co-workers, and they're not friends. They kind of have a bad relationship at the beginning of the book, and throughout the book you slowly see their relationship start to come together and try to work together to keep their jobs. And I like at the beginning of this book, it kind of starts out a couple months in the future speaking about this event that happened. It's not telling you what event happened. So it's kind of goes back and forth between them being talked to about the event and then back to like the present, and like the events that lead up to that big thing that they're being questioned about. So I kind of liked that because it kept you guessing and kind of kept you on your toes. But books that I read in the series. I only read the first 3 so far because I don't have the sister novels that go in between, and I wanted to read them in order, so I didn't go on. So, the Addicted series is about Lily and Lo. They are best friends. They both come from really rich families, but they both have secrets. They are both addicts. They're both addicts, and they start a fake relationship that lasts 3 years. And in doing this fake relationship, they want to keep their addictions hidden from their family and friends. So they kind of seclude themselves, and it's just them all the time, so they can just live with their addictions. I'll move on to the second book. So the books are kind of about their relationship and how they want to grow into an actual relationship instead of a fake one. And it goes through their struggles of trying to overcome their addictions. And they're really good books. Ricochet, ricochet, ricochet. This is the second book. And the third book in the series is Addicted for Now. A lot of crazy stuff happens in this book, in my opinion, and I thought it was pretty good. But I also really liked the second book, Ricochet, because it kind of goes back and forth between the present and the past. And I liked that. I liked learning more about the relationship before, when they were both still really into their addictions. So I'm looking forward to getting the sister novel so I can continue reading the series. Addicted for Now. Addicted for Now. And now, moving into what I read in April. I read a couple of my all-time favorite books in April, so I'm excited to talk about those. And we are starting off with a bang with Archer's Voice. Archer's Voice. This book is like a 10 out of 5. This is one of my all-time favorite books. The story is it's like a beautiful story, and it's a really nice setting, a cute, quaint town, and it's just so good. If you haven't read this book, I highly, highly recommend it. The main characters in this book are Archer and Bree. you will definitely cry reading this book. But it's so good. It really is so good. I might have read the back of this book before on this channel, but I think I'll do it again just because I think it deserves it. I wanted to lose myself in the small town of Billion, Maine, to forget everything I had left behind. The sound of rain, the blood, the coldness of the gun against my skin. For 6 months, each breath has been a reminder that I survived, and my dad didn't. I'm almost safe again. But the moment I meet Archer Hale, my entire world tilts on its axis and never rights itself again, until I trespass into his strange, silent, and isolated world. Archer communicates with no one, yet in his whiskey-colored eyes, something intangible happens between us. There's so much more to him than just his beauty, his presence, or the way his hands communicate with me, on me. But this town is mirrored in secrets and betrayals, and Archer is the explosive center of all of it. So much passion and so much hurt, but it's in Archer's silence that we might just find what we need to heal and to live. Before I read this book, I was kind of in like a funk. I was enjoying the books that I was reading, but I hadn't picked up a book in a while that I just couldn't put down, like that I enjoyed so much that I really looked forward to reading it again. And this book, it took me out of that rut. This book was amazing, and I just could not wait to pick it back up again to continue reading. So I highly recommend this book if you haven't read it yet. Okay. And then the next 2 books I also really loved. The first one, The Problem with Forever. The Problem with Forever. slowest burn I think I've ever read, but it was really, really good. Super slow burn, but it's worth it in my opinion. So, Vanessa works for a pro football player, Aiden Graves. She is her assistant, and she decides to up and quit. She's been planning on doing it for a while to start her own business. And her and Aiden do not have a good relationship. I mean, he doesn't have a good relationship with anybody. He's very quiet and isolated. So she thinks when she leaves it wouldn't be a big deal because he could just find a new assistant. But he comes running back after her, asking her to do something that she never thought she would do, especially for him. But it was super cute, and I like Aiden as like a main character, but the only thing that I wish we could have gotten from this book is a little bit more on Aiden's feelings, because I didn't feel like I had